Hello, everyone. It's Sunday once again. Um, it's still September. Sunday is like my favorite day of the week, and again, it's still September, my favorite month of the year. It's just we've started early. It's about a minute to two, but I thought because I'm so excited about today's guest, I thought we're gonna start early. So it's nearly 2 o'clock in the UK, which means it's 9 p.m. in Manila. And also, it's 6 o'clock in the morning in Los Angeles, where my baba is at the moment. I hope she's awake now and watching the show. So, hello to her. But, anyways, like I said, I'm so excited about today's guest because when I was doing the script last night, I just realized how massive this band were and still are. Um, they're like the biggest reggae band in the world. They've sold over 70 million records worldwide. They've had over 50 UK hit singles. Three of those are number ones. It's just so amazing. And they also hold the record for the most number of weeks by a group in the UK singles chart. It's something like 214 weeks, which is like, you know, nearly 4 years, 4 years of being in the chart. They're absolutely amazing. And I'm so happy that he's here. I feel so honored that to have him on the show. So, my dear friends, please welcome Jimmy Brown of UB40. Woohoo!
Good
Hello.
afternoon, everyone. Well, afternoon in England, anyway.
Yeah, and good evening in Manila
Mhm.
and morning in Los Angeles. So you got your name as James Brown.
Yeah, that's my real name. Yeah,
That's
it's
your real name.
it is my real name. Yeah, when we're touring, then some of the guys they use an alias just so they don't get hassled in their room or something. But I don't bother changing my name because nobody believes it anyway. So they think it's an alias, but it's not. It really is my name.
And do you sometimes get people like, because James Brown, when you say James Brown, I feel good. Or
Yeah,
like, do
yeah,
you
yeah.
get
When we're in America, I always go to the hotel reception. I go, "My name's James Brown," and they look up and think, "Hang on, that's not him." And I go, "I am him, but I've been very ill lately. That's the fault." But yeah, it does make people laugh. That's for sure.
Yeah, but online you're now so like Jimmy. So do you call yourself Jimmy now? Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be what everybody calls me. I prefer James because it's slightly more sophisticated, but most people call me Jimmy. So that's
Yeah.
fine by me.
Well, I'm really grateful that you've said yes to Ask the Drummer because I know how busy you and UB40 are. You've just done a tour, and I think there's another one coming up in December
We're
or maybe
no, we're we yeah, we've been everywhere this year. We started off in Australia and New Zealand at the start of the year. Then we've been to America. We've also been to Spain, parts of Europe. We're always working. We're a working band. We have done for 45 years, and we're celebrating our 45th year now.
wow,
And yeah, we're just having a great time. It's
that's
so much
that's absolutely
fun
amazing.
now
Yeah.
compared to the beginning. When
45
go on,
Yeah, 45 years. Because when I saw it, it was like you formed the band in 1978, and I was
mm-hmm.
like, oh my god, I was only 9 years old at the time, and you're already in a band. That's all.
No, no, yeah. Don't worry. Most people they don't even remember the early days. You know, we're the old. We're getting as old as the Rolling Stones. We definitely do.
Well, when I saw you at the Apollo, I actually nearly missed you because I don't know if it's so like the way you do it, but most of the fans who are waiting outside the Apollo, they were waiting for Robin Campbell or Matt
Mhm,
Doyle
mhm.
or Norman Hassan. Oh my god, I
Yeah,
love Norman Hassan. But then you quietly so like walked out, and
yeah.
what? And I was so like thinking, oh my god, that's that's James Brown, that's the drummer. And I sort of like followed you and said, excuse me. It was like I wanted to ask you, is that sort of like a deliberate thing? Are you okay with fans sort of like hanging around and asking you
Yeah,
for
I'm probably a
tinctures?
bit of a misery when it comes to that. I'm not. I don't bask in it, like some people might do. It's a little bit sort of a little bit shy, I suppose. But when I'm home here, and people maybe recognise me in the local supermarket, or taking the kids to school or whatever. But they don't really say anything, and I don't say anything, and people leave me alone. So I'm quite happy with that.
But you're okay with fans sort of like saying, excuse me, can I have a
Yeah,
photograph with
no, I don't have
you?
a problem with that. Just I kind of avoid it if I can. I've just kind of keep my head down, and avoid eye contact as I'm heading for the bus. So, yeah. I mean, not that I'm looking down on people, but I mean, in the end, it's like I said, I'm generally shy, so I'm not. I prefer to get on the bus and hide away. Uh,
Well, I was actually waiting for you, so I know when it's sort of like when you walked out, it's like, that's him. But anyways, so I'm really glad that you sort of like, you said okay for a photograph and signatures as well. But so welcome to Ask the Drummer.
mhm,
Episode 94 is all about you, James
mhm,
Brown.
okay.
I have obviously looked you up online for my script and everything, and found out that you were born and raised in Birmingham.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Inner city Birmingham. Yeah, that's.
yeah.
That's.
So
I mean, me and the bass player were both kind of born in the same area, called Small Heath in Birmingham, in the city area. Really mixed, diverse area of Birmingham. Birmingham's a diverse city as it is, and we're
yeah,
right in the middle of. We were right in the middle of the melting pot, of diversity. Way back then in the early '60s, and it was a beautiful place to be brought up. A wonderful place to go
yeah,
because you meet people from all different parts of the world, um, from either the Caribbean or Asia or Arab or Irish, or there's all kinds of different people live there, and that really kind of influenced us, I think, because we were all born within a mile or so of the city centre, so that's
yeah.
a big
So
influence.
you're 100% Brummy. That's what you call it.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah,
I mean, I'm
yeah.
still there now. I just live out away from the city centre now in a nice area where there's lots of trees. So yeah, but I'm still 10 miles from Birmingham. It's still my home,
Yeah.
where my family lives. So uh, I'm a Brummie. That's of course.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
100%. Did you know that when Primark opened its biggest like shop in Birmingham, they
mm-hmm.
had I don't know if they still have it now, but they had this T-shirt that says 100% Brummy,
Yeah,
and I think
I can imagine that. Yeah.
that's I think that's the only like branch of Primark where they actually do that. I've never seen one where it say 100% Manc or 100% Scouse or anything. It's only in Birmingham where they have that kind of T-shirt.
I think Brummies are really proud of the city. I think generally we it informs what we do. It's a blue collar city. It used to be the centre for the motor industry in the UK. So it's a working class city, and it's very diverse. And I think it's a beautiful place to live. And I'm very proud to be a Brummie,
Yeah,
and and that you could be a Brummie and come from, and your parents or whatever could come from anywhere else in the world. But when you get to Birmingham, you're a Brummie. You
you're
know.
right. Well, Aiden said that sound and vision is great. So Aiden is my tech support. So when he says that, that's brilliant. And he also said that he really likes Birmingham, which is good. So
Birmingham's a
are you
great
from
place. Go on, carry on.
yeah.
Uh,
So are you from a musical family?
No, not at all. Actually, my mum did play uh, piano. She could play piano, and she loved music, but not really a musical family. They didn't have lots of records when I was growing up, or although we listened to the radio all the time, and we always had the radio on in the car when we go on holiday, or so. I mean, music was always there, but no, I'm not particularly. My dad worked in a factory, so he wasn't a musician in any way, or but but I think there is a tradition in Birmingham because it was the center of the industrial revolution all around this area now in Birmingham. They used to play music in people's front rooms to cover the sound of the presses that were going 24 hours a day. And the only way to get rid of that clanking sound of the presses that were pressing out steel was to play music over the top. So there's a tradition of music, even though Birmingham is a very industrialized city.
Yeah.
That's the tradition anyway.
Yeah. But what got you into drumming? What got you into drumming? Have you tried any other instrument, or have you always been drawn to the drums?
Yeah, I used to, when I was like little, 10, 11, 12, I used to tap away on, on things. Used to drive my mum mad, I was constantly tapping. And teachers used to hit me on the back of the knuckles with a ruler occasionally, just because I was constantly tapping. And yeah, I've never thought of playing anything else really. And so yeah, I think I must have, I could tap out a rhythm, from a very early age. So yeah, I think I was naturally.
Yeah. Did you go for lessons though? Did you have drumming lessons? So
no, not at all. No lessons at all. I mean, I taught myself by listening to my favourite records and just copying them, and that seemed to be enough in the end. I mean, I suppose what I do is quite specialised because it's reggae and it's got a certain sound of its own and a certain style of its own. So that was my main thing. I just listened to lots and lots of reggae records and just copied what was on there, and I still do, really.
Yeah.
Still copy from other people.
Well, that's really interesting because on Discogs, your entry there, it says a reggae drummer. Because I have heard of rock drummers and jazz drummers, but a reggae drummer, what would you say is sort like the difference, or are they basically just the same as rock drummers? Because I know that jazz drummers is more so like specialized, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good question because I think when you can see a lot of musicians that don't start with reggae, if they're a rock musician, they have a real hard time adjusting a way of thinking to do reggae because there's a certain attitude with the music that I think a lot of musicians find very difficult. It's highly disciplined for a start. That you don't do much is the idea. No, never overdo it. It's kind of like, you do one thing perfectly rather than 100 things not quite perfect. You see what I mean? It's you have to discipline yourself, and space is another sound. If you get what I mean, that you've got to leave space for to let the music breathe. You have to leave lots of space in there. You have to do the bare minimum that makes it sound complete.
Yeah.
Where rock, it's about layering the sound. You get keyboards on top of guitars, on top of whatever. But with reggae, you've got to compartmentalize the sound. You'll get at the beginning of one bar, you'll get a little a guitar lick, and then at the end of 2 bars later, you'll get an answer from the keyboard lick, if you see what I mean, from a little keyboard thing, and that call and answer thing goes all the way through the music, with the drums and the bass keeping a steady pace in between. But I think it's, unless you're familiar with it, it's quite difficult because it's a different way of thinking musically to other styles of music.
Cool. I'm gonna ask you though, because again in Primark, there's a mural there, a big mural where it says Birmingham is the home of heavy metal, with
Mhm.
Black Sabbath and things. So why reggae? So in your area or in your neighborhood, is it always been the so like the dominant style of music, which is reggae, or were
Yeah,
you also in heavy metal?
that's another great question. I think, there are lots of, people talk about there's a Mersey sound and a Manchester sound and even a London sound, but you don't get what the Birmingham sound is. And the reason for that is because of the diversity of the music that comes from Birmingham. Not only is it us, but also Steel Pulse, who are one of the, most famous reggae bands in the world. Back in 1978, I think it was, had the first reggae #1 album with Handsworth Revolution. So Steel Pulse, it's a reggae city. There was a reggae band on every street corner when we started. But also you've got Duran Duran coming
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Birmingham too, and you've
yeah,
got the heavy metal bands coming from Birmingham. Dexys Midnight Runners. That diversity means that you can't just pin it down to one particular sound. And that maybe works against us to a degree in Birmingham. But Birmingham's a music city without a doubt. It's just that you can't pigeonhole it into one thing.
yeah, yeah. Well, I actually just realized because I saw Dexys only a few days ago, and then I only realized that they're actually from Birmingham. I don't know
Yeah,
why I
yeah,
didn't know that. I thought they were
yeah.
like Irish or something.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of, the Irish roots of people in Birmingham. I've been with my wife since before the band, and she's half Jamaican, half Irish, and that's a perfect Birmingham mix. Is Jamaican Irish is that perfect Birmingham, coming together of different cultures, and she
Yeah.
represents that. That's why I love Birmingham.
Yeah. So you lean more into reggae than the other so like bands like heavy metal and whatever. Because
Uh-huh.
you're around the same time as Dexys as well when you formed, right? It's like
Yeah, yeah.
1978. But
We,
ELO and Black Sabbath, they're already
uh-huh.
so like there.
Hmm.
Um with the reggae, uh is it so like just a natural that you got attracted to it straight away, or were you like a heavy metal fan in maybe
No,
before you started reggae?
yeah, no. It was all. I mean, I'd say it was always reggae. When I was really young, before I became like a teenager, it was obviously whatever pop music that was played on the radio.
Yeah,
Um, but as soon as I was, I was a teenager in the '70s, and I remember, at the time, what you had was prog rock for the middle class kids and glam rock for the working class kids, and I
yeah,
didn't. That wasn't really suitable for us. We were kind of what they call townies, where you get dressed up, you go out on a Friday night, Friday and Saturday nights, and that's what you did. You went to meet girls and whatever, and you don't. So yeah, we got into reggae really early on. When I was, 12, 13, they
yeah.
released they released King Tubby Meets the Upsetter of the Grassroots of Dub, which was like a dub album. Um, and that was the first dub album I ever heard. And then I was hooked, on the music. It was an alternative to the pop music of the day.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
we lived in an area that had a lot of people from Jamaica had come to live there. They
I think we jinxed it or something. Right, we're back live once again. I'm so sorry about that, but I did say that something like that might happen.
okay,
I still don't know why, but anyways, we're back,
yeah.
and we were talking about reggae music. Now, I
Right.
think from what I gathered from you is that it's because there's quite a lot of Jamaicans in the area where you were living is when you were like a teenager or whatever. But in the Philippines, I don't know if it's the sort like the same thing, but in the Philippines every time there's like in your neighborhood, there's someone playing reggae music, or it's
Mm-hmm.
like you know, the oldies would say you've got to like be careful and don't go anywhere near that area because it's associated with people or taking drugs or so like then they're always they're always all like say like the old like a mom and dad will probably say, oh, they're doing it again, they're they're taking pot or weed or whatever, and they're playing that reggae music again. So it's
Well,
like,
that's kind of old fashioned because I mean, you can, in a lot of countries now it's legal. In America, you can just go in a shop and buy it. And I think that's absolutely right. It's a civilized alternative to beer or wine. And I don't have a problem with the legality with making it legal. I think
yeah, yeah.
it's
Oh,
I think it's just people are entitled to do what they want, as long as they don't become antisocial and and
yeah.
commit any crimes. The people should be left to do what they want. It's been legalized in some places, like Amsterdam, for instance, for many decades now, and it
That's
hasn't
true.
caused
Yeah.
it hasn't caused society to fall apart.
But it's
So,
the association with reggae music and the association of sort of like drug
mhm.
taking or something that is really sort of like strange. maybe
Well,
maybe I don't know, maybe it's Bob Marley or
yeah, well, I mean, he promoted that. And us as a band, we promoted the legality of it, and I see nothing wrong with smoking pot. Uh, Better off vaping rather than smoking, but people can do what they want. And
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily come hand in hand, um, but
No, no, of course.
very often it does, and especially when
Yeah.
it comes to, because I'm talking about, I remember in the early 1970s, dub music, which was created in Jamaica, Studio One, King Tubby, Lee Perry, people like that, they created dub music, and really the only way to understand dub, which is music uh, without any vocals, or with a small amount of vocals. It's that when you smoke weed, it all makes sense. You see what
Oh,
I mean? Because it's a transcendental way of dealing with music. Uh,
yeah.
dub, I love dub, because it's had a massive influence on particularly dance music. Where you've got the texture of the music changing every 4 to 8 bars. There'll be a change of texture to the music, and
Yeah.
that's how dub works, So because really, what happened with they used to have you'd have in Jamaica you'd have a song and then you'd have a B side, and that B side would generally be an instrumental. So whoever the live DJ was would be able to chat over the
Oh yeah.
instrumental, and
Yeah.
that was the idea. But then after a while, then up and coming producers, assistants would be left to do a little musical, like a musical mix, and then they'd add echoes and reverbs and organize the music, and that then dub was invented, and it's
Yeah. Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
always loved that, and we always try and reflect that a little bit in our music, even now. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's an exciting time to
But
be.
would you say that UB40 actually helped make reggae music so like more um, for the general public, or maybe more into making it more pop, or maybe some might say that pop is maybe not a really good word, but would you say that UB40 actually made reggae belong to everybody and not just people wanting to take drugs or something?
Yeah, I mean, I think to some degree, perhaps, I mean, but it is worth remembering that before, because there was a certain period, which was about 1973 to about 1980, where it was all about roots, and they call roots reggae. Bob Marley was part of that movement, and that was more political and more conscious. But before that, reggae was just pop music. It's Jamaican pop music, and always has been. It was just that the roots, side of reggae was very popular. But really, in the end, it was singers like Gregory Isaacs, Ken Booth, Dennis Brown, Freddie McGregor, and of course John Holt. They were pop singers, and they sang reggae pop songs. So that was a big influence on us. Not just the roots, which was more about Rasta and and had a religious connotation to it. Whereas we're not into that really. I love the sound. I love the sound of Burning Spear and Bob Marley and all those kind of roots bands. And Still Pulse, they were a roots band in their own way. But it's not all there is to reggae. And the pop element is definitely something that not that we're conscious of.
So like added into,
it's the way it came out, and that's I don't have a problem with the idea of pop music. It's what people love, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, like I said in the introduction earlier, that you've had like more than 50 UK hit singles, and I was like, 3 of them were like #1. I'm like, oh my god, I have some singles like UB40 singles, but I don't think I've got all the 50 plus singles that you've released.
Well, it's funny because we got a quiz show in England, and it's called Tenable, and you have to the top 10 of things. You have to guess what they are, and one of them was UB40 songs. One of the questions on it was, what are the top 10 UB40 songs? I got them all wrong. I had I didn't have a clue which was which. I don't know. I couldn't name, all the tunes. Well, we recorded 500 tunes, so it's a lot. It's a long career, We've done a lot of recording, so it all gets lost in the memory, I'm afraid.
Well, I've got to sort of ask you, what was your first band? Was it straight on to UB40? Was that your first?
Never been in any other band. Never been. No, it's always been. We were already friends. Most of us went to school together from the age of 11. So we were friends anyway, and we just wanted to be in a band, and that was how we did it. And it was never any question we were going to be playing reggae. I had the privilege of seeing Bob Marley live in 1976 at the local Odeon, and that was a catalyst really for us saying, "What I'd just love to get a band, put a band together." And that we all were at that show, and it was a life-changing experience, seeing Bob Marley live. It was absolutely fantastic concert, and that really was spurred us on to say, come on, let's go for it. And we did.
And according to Wikipedia, UB40 is actually started by you, Earl Falconer, who's the bass player, and Ali Campbell. So it's your band. You're actually, the 3 of you started it. And
me, Earl, the bass player, and Ali, our first singer. We just locked ourselves away in a. We took over a cellar because Earl was living in an apartment in an old house, and it just so happened they had a cellar at this house where it was kind of a bit overgrown, and but we took it over and turned that into our rehearsal space. And we went every day for about 6 months, every single day, getting together, rehearsing, working, learning our instruments. And then after about 6 months, we started writing our own stuff, which was great, and we learned. And then the others came, Brian with his saxophone, he's no longer with us, I'm afraid, but he joined in. Then Robin joined in, and Norman, the percussionist, he joined in, and that was it. We got the band together in about a year. Rehearsing every day, every weekday for about a year.
Yeah. Well, before the internet and before nowadays, you actually sort of like Google it and everything. But for us in the Philippines, I mean, UB40, the name UB40, that's
Mhm.
actually, like the
Yeah,
unemployment benefit form number
that's right.
40.
Yeah, UB stands for unemployment benefit. Yeah, because we were. What happened was that it was me and Ali. We were signing on. We didn't have a job. We were what they call signing on, where you go and sign your name and you get given, I think it was £13.50 a week, or it was what we were given. And but because we were so lazy and bad, we didn't ever turn up on time. So they made us sign on every day as a punishment. But of course, what that meant was that we had to sign on every day, and we went straight from signing on straight to rehearsal, and kind of that discipline of having to go sign on every day probably gave us the discipline to go and rehearse every day as well. So I thank
Well,
the Social
yeah.
Security for that.
Well, it kind of reminded me of like there's a film called Full Monty, because they were like those guys were also signing on, I think, or they're claiming benefits because they're all like unemployed. So it's a good thing that yours didn't turn out to be so like
No,
your
we said that. No, I mean the people say, oh yeah, they met on the dole queue,
yeah.
lining up to sign on. That's not how it happened. We were at school together, we before we even thought of signing on. So we were already friends. That's just a myth. Uh,
Yeah, so it was formed in 1978. This is again according to Wikipedia. It's December 1978. But then, 1979 February. I think it was 9th February 1979 where you did your first so like ever performance, and it's
yeah,
at the Hare and Hounds. Well,
yeah,
I've actually been on that stage because in 2019,
yeah.
so 40 years later, I was so like blessed. I felt so like, I just think, oh my god, this is where UB40 first played their
Mm-hmm.
gig ever, and it's because of I don't know if you know the band Mighty Mighty. They're also from Birmingham, so they
Not
were.
specifically, no. Uh,
Yeah, well, they were playing there, and then when I asked for a photograph, so the guys from Mighty Mighty said to me, "Oh, did you know that that stage was actually where UB40 first did their
mm-hmm.
gig, and you should get on it." And then so I had a photograph on that stage. And
We've
I was
been back
like,
a few
"Oh,
times, but it was our sax player Brian, who, like I said, is no longer with us, unfortunately. That was his local pub, he was there all the time, and we very often go back. I know the guy very well who runs the pub. It's the best music venue in the whole of Birmingham, and I'm very proud to be associated with it. And we've got a nice blue plaque on the
yeah,
on the
yeah, that's
on the
right,
side, which I'm proud of that as well. So yeah, it's
yeah."
our youth, in our history, the Hare and Hounds. It's
Well,
we played there quite recently as well. A couple
I
of
was,
years back, we did a special show there just to to promote. Actually, for the when they put the plaque on the wall, we played a
yeah,
little bit of acoustic set there that day when they unveiled the plaque.
yeah.
So we love the.
It's actually, yeah, it's not that sort of like it's not in the city center because you have to sort of like get the bus to actually get out of the
Yeah,
center to
yeah, yeah.
the Hare
No,
and
it's not a
Hounds.
city centre venue, but it is the best music venue in the whole of Birmingham. I mean, even though we've got the
Yeah,
NIA and all those big arenas, really the best people play at the Hare and Hounds.
yeah, yeah.
It's a great place.
Well, when I was sort of like stood there, I was like, it's one of the proudest moments of my life. I was like, yes, I was on the same stage as you before. It was like, but so again, when I was researching UB40, and says apparently it was Chrissy Hind who actually saw
Mhm,
the
mhm.
potential in UB40 and asked you to join them in their sort of like supporting them at their gigs. So what
Yeah.
was it like? What was it like at the time? Like having the Pretenders as well as to support.
Well, yeah, it was quite scary. I mean, we'd only played about 30 gigs, I think, altogether. Um, and we were playing in a really really famous music club called the Rock Garden. I don't know if it's still there. And it's just a tiny, it's like a toilet, you know, it's a really scrappy old spit and sawdust kind of old venue. And we were playing there, it's only small, only held a few hundred people. And we were playing there, and this very amazing looking woman came to the dressing room afterwards, and it was Chrissie Hynde, you know. And at the time, she'd got #1 single and #1 album with Brass in Pocket, and you know the album that goes with it. And she's gone, "I love you guys. Do you want to come on tour with us?" And we've gone, "Yeah."
Wow.
You know, it's like one of the biggest tours of and we'd only been playing 30 shows up until then. So it was kind of daunting. It was kind of scary. We were learning in public really, because we'd only been playing for a year, you know, before we started that, you know, doing gigs.
Yeah.
And we're very inexperienced, but it made us really. By the end, it was the biggest tour going on that year, and we played, must have been 30, 40 dates with supporting the Pretenders. And by the end, during that tour, we'd released our first single, which was Food for Thought. And that became a hit while we were doing the Pretenders tour. So we immediately, at the end of the tour, booked the whole thing again, but with us headlining. So that was kind of you know, who knows what would have happened if Chrissie hadn't asked us to tour, you know, we may never, you know, so you don't know. But certainly it was a beautiful thing for her to do, and we've remained friends ever since. She's a lovely lady.
And you did this sort of like record with her, the "I Got You, Babe" as well. I mean, I think for us in the Philippines, that was big, you know, when that came out.
Massive record, and that was, you know, it worked. It was a combination that worked really well. And like I said, we've stayed friends with Chrissie, all, you know, for our whole lives really. And she's a fantastic lady, really, really lovely.
It's amazing. I suppose it helps that you're all friends, so you also like helped each other out, even though you're new to the music scene and new to touring and with a big band like, you know, like the Pretenders. Being friends, so were you able to sort of like just help each other? And
I think she kind of knew that, you know, we would get some attention. She was a big fan herself, you know, and we loved the Pretenders. Unfortunately, after that tour, two of the guys, Honeyman Scott, the guitarist, and Pete Farnham, I think it was, the bass player, they both died not long afterwards. You know, they were hard-working rockers, and they didn't last very long, unfortunately. But Chris is still going, and she's still performing.
Yeah, it is. Another massive hit in the Philippines was Red Red Wine. I think this was during the time of MTV, where we actually saw the videos like UB40 and stuff. But in the Philippines, it's more like I was saying that it's reggae, but because it's pop as well, and in a way, for us Filipinos, because in the 80s we were into new wave, so it kind of got put into like the new wave. So music, you must say. So and
it's really funny. It's really strange, you know, because we Red Red Wine was a hit when we released it first, but they wouldn't release it in America, and we wanted them to release it, but the record company didn't want to release it. And what happened was that a radio station, can't remember what it was, but it's just a small local radio station. They actually played the tune Red Red Wine, and they got a lot of responses. People were calling up the radio stations and asking who it was, and, you know, can I play it again? And then another station picked it up, then another station picked it up, and then it grew. You know, everybody was picking it up on the radio and getting a response, and people were phoning in and saying they loved it. So eventually that forced the record companies to release it, and it went to #1 in America, which is, you know, and I'm very proud of that achievement as well.
Yeah, and you still play it. I mean, I don't know. So like some people, I think it's because it's been played quite a lot that people so like try and avoid it, or maybe when you talk UB40, oh, red wine, everything like that. But I'm really glad that you still play it. I think it's expected of you to sort of like play red wine every time. Every time you're
People
on
love it,
stage.
I
Yeah.
mean, we don't very often rehearse it because we played it so many times. It's go, oh, we won't bother rehearsing that one. But in a live show, people go crazy for it, and everybody sings along, and it's,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's not my favourite track that we've ever done. I've lots of other tracks, but that people have picked up on it, and you can't, I certainly wouldn't knock it, and I'm
No.
proud that we've had such a big hit record, and actually, funnily enough, our second American number one, which was "Can't Help Falling in Love," that was the second time we reached number one in America. That actually sold more than Red Wine, but everybody thinks of us mainly as doing Red Wine as our song, even though we didn't write it.
Yeah, I think it was only. Yeah, it was only like not recently, but definitely in the 80s when we heard about Red Wine, we didn't know that it was a Neil Diamond song.
We had no idea. We didn't have a clue. Yeah, we had no. It just went, written by, because obviously when you do a cover version, you have to find out the writers and you have to make sure they get paid, And it said Eddie Diamond, and we didn't realise it was Neil Diamond. And apparently he never wrote the tune. It's apparently a temperance song from the Salvation Army back in the 1920s. That it was written as like a anti-alcohol, like I say, a temperance song where they didn't approve of people drinking alcohol. And he bought the song, so he owns it, but he didn't write it. I don't
Didn't
think.
write it. Oh God, I didn't know that. I thought it was him who actually wrote the song.
But he owns it, so
Yeah. You mentioned "Can't Help Falling in Love with You" again. I mean, I really love this record. I remember I was living in Abu Dhabi at the time, and this was I always saw like we've got a music channel there called Channel V, and I used to just wait for that video to come on like every time. And it's in a film. I think it was so like soundtrack to a Sharon Stone film. So like Sliver. Yeah. But the way you changed it, the way you actually made it your own song, because it's totally different from was
the
it
Elvis.
Presley?
Yeah. Well, that's a funny story with that, because what happened was the people were producing a movie called Honeymoon in Vegas with Nicolas Cage, and different people were asked to write to do cover versions of Elvis songs, and we were asked to do a cover version of an Elvis song, and I chose "Can't Help Falling in Love," and funnily enough, Bono from U2, he also did a version of that. So they went with Bono's version, and they ignored our version and didn't use it in the film. But then what happened was we got approached by the people who were doing the Sharon Stone movie Sliver, and they wanted to use the record, And we've gone, yeah, fine, that's great. And eventually it got released, and it became a massive worldwide hit.
Yeah. Yes.
It was really
Yes.
big.
I really. Yeah, I remember that one. And again, when I saw you at the Apollo, people were just really singing along to it, and they were expecting it. That was just, I think it's sort of like the horn section when they saw like the it was like that was just
it's quite a dynamic. We usually close the evening with that number, big ending, and it's just one of those tunes that it caught people's imagination and just was really big all around the world, And that's one great thing about being in this band is that we're popular in all kinds of different places, all the way from the Pacific, from Polynesia to Australia and New Zealand, the Far East, um,
Yeah.
you know, the Middle East, Africa. We've played South Africa and other and Namibia and places like that. You know,
Yeah.
we have success almost everywhere, and it's just a
That's
beautiful
true.
thing.
Yeah.
That's why we keep working, you know, because
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a demand everywhere in the world for the band, which is an amazing thing. You know, I pinch
Yeah.
myself every day that I've been so lucky.
Well, you did your work. I mean, it's like 45 years of hard work, and that's why
Yeah,
you're
I mean, I've got to
well
say,
known. Like,
I have to say that it beats working for a living, really. You know, I mean, it's not hard work. You know, we do 2 hours a night, and you know, the rest of the time we travel in good conditions. We stay at nice hotels, and you know, it's work for me. It's work for my family. You know, it's great going away because I look forward to coming home again. And
yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it's a great lifestyle. What can I say? I feel like the luckiest person in the world. You know, having that for a whole working life to be in a band, getting paid for doing what you love to do. It's like better than striking gold. You know, or
That's true. Yeah,
winning the
that's true.
lottery or whatever. You know, it's a
That's
beautiful
true.
thing. I'm
Yeah.
very grateful for that.
Well, Vincent Briffault, who's in Paris, I believe he is in Paris or somewhere in France. I just saw like the cool emoji, and Boying Reyes is watching from Manila. Boying is actually just like you, a drumming legend in the Philippines.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Um, so you UB40 don't just do cover
No, no,
the
no.
cover songs. And also, I found out yesterday that you're also a songwriter. You don't
Uh-huh.
just play drums. You've written some of the songs, and it's most
Yeah.
especially this 1 in 10.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. That's something I'm very proud of as well. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
you know it kind of encapsulated a sort of. It's quite political. You know, it's a political song. You know, and we do. You know, we I think we've done about 26, 27 studio albums over the 45 years, and only 4 of those are cover version albums. You know, the other 22 albums are our own material.
original. Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah,
original.
I'm one of me, Robin the guitarist, we're two of the main songwriters in the band. And yeah, I like, I enjoy
Yeah.
writing
No,
songs.
I'm gonna ask you, how did the collaboration with 808 States come about?
Well,
Doing
they
one
just did
in
a mix. They did a mix of 1 in 10, and they said, can they use it? You know, and we've gone, of course you can. You know, it's yeah, because it's completely different to our version. You
I
know,
know.
because obviously
It's
it's influenced by different genre of music. But yeah, we just said, guys, go ahead, do what you want, and they just went ahead and did it. You know,
yeah, yeah.
it's a compliment when people say, you know, can we do a mix of this, a mix of that, and you know, it's happened a
So
few.
you're okay with it when they change it? It's not basically a reggae tune anymore. It's more sort of like a dance or like
Yeah, like
trippy.
a dance tune. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, it was early on as well. You know, I think it was kind of early '90s. Might have been
yeah,
even
yeah,
late '80s. I can't remember exactly, but that was quite early on in the dance explosion that happened in the '90s, and that was, you know, I'm very proud of that. That people want to do versions. You
a
know, and
version of it. Well,
yeah, we love it.
another another thing that I was sort of like, I mean, you can say you don't want to if you don't want to answer this one, but
Go
I've also found out yesterday that during the height of sort of like your popularity and you're massive in the UK, is
on.
it true that the MI5 are actually sort of like monitoring your every move, or
Yeah, well,
is that
apparently
true?
it is true. Yeah, Well, there was a guy called David Shaler who used to work for MI5, which is the spy, the
Yeah, it's
security.
like James
Yeah,
Bond, isn't it?
yeah, like James Bond, yeah. And he used to work for them, and he became a whistleblower when he left. And he wrote a book, and in that book, it said that we were being watched by MI5, And I always thought that was a bit stupid, really. It was like, have they got nothing better to do than, you know, than spy on a reggae band, a bunch of
Yeah.
potheads, who just sit around writing songs and playing reggae, It was a ludicrous idea that somehow we were
A
a
threat?
risk to the security of the nation,
Oh my God.
It was just silly, it was just very silly. And it just showed you how out of touch with reality these people are, that they think that, a bunch of guys, who sit around smoking weed and writing reggae tunes are going to be some kind of threat, It was just silly. And but yeah, it was very true.
But obviously you weren't aware of it at the time, because
We
that
had
must have
no
been sort of
idea.
like,
Yeah, we only
yeah.
found out afterwards. At the time we didn't have a clue. Apparently all our phones were being tapped, we were being watched, and
Oh God.
it was like they got nothing better to do. And so yeah, that was very funny. But,
Well, UB40, I mean, 45 years, but there's something happened that wasn't sort of like, let's just say it's not good when Ali Campbell, the singer,
mm-hmm,
decided to go solo.
mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to sort of like really get into it because I know it's a bit sort of like a touchy subject. But what do
Well,
you say to fans? Because I must admit that um, I was also waiting for Ali to come back before I go and see you live because I was thinking
mm,
there's no point seeing just your UB40 and then there's Ali's UB40. But then I realized then that that's not going to happen. So I've got to go and see you because, I love UB40.
uh-huh.
So I've got to go and see you live. But what do you say to fans who say that it's not UB40 without Ali Campbell?
Yeah, but that the proof is in who comes to see you live. I mean, obviously the music industry has changed, and live is where you make money. You don't make money on
Yeah.
records anymore. Don't sell enough because people pirate them. But live is where we are first and foremost a live band, even above recording or anything else. And
Yeah.
So Ali decided to go solo with that, which is fair enough. That's what he wanted to do. He didn't want to be part of the band anymore. So he went up and did his own. He booked like a arena tour under his own name, but he
Yeah.
didn't sell any. He didn't sell any tickets for that because nobody knew who he was. Like you said earlier, nobody really knew the individuals because we're a band, and
Yeah.
he was more familiar face, but in the end, we're a band, And so anyway, he went off and did his own, and he didn't do very well. And then a couple of years after leaving, he started using the name of the
name.
band, and we thought that wasn't a fair thing to do. He left the band. He left the band 15 years ago. He shouldn't be using the name of the band he left. Because what he does is he bills himself as UB40 featuring Ali Campbell, but there's no members of UB40 on stage
No,
with him.
no.
So we think that's a lie. To say that that's UB40. It's because
Yeah.
he started with the band were called the Debt Band. That was his backing band for his own solo career. It was Ali Campbell and the Debt Band, and he changed their name to UB40 when he couldn't sell any tickets. And we've been trying to get him into court for years. We spent £500,000 trying to get him into court. But when somebody, it's hard when you a personal prosecution. is a difficult thing. It's not criminal. It's a personal thing, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
really, really expensive to do it. And in the end, you know, we've given up. But we don't think it's fair that he should confuse people by advertising himself as UB40,
As
because
UB40.
there's not a single member of UB40 with him on stage, you know.
Yeah.
So that's misleading people. And we were never going to change, you know. I mean, we've had two singers since, and one was Ali's brother, who was great, but he unfortunately, down to health problems, he couldn't tour anymore.
Yeah.
So we've got a new guy, Matt Doyle.
Matt
Who
Doyle is amazing. I've got to say that he's really, really good.
is good, isn't he? Yeah, we think
Yeah,
he's good. And also,
yeah.
he's the percussionist's nephew, so we keep it in the family. You know, we don't like to go outside of the family to, you know.
Oh,
We're all we're a big family. You know, we
yeah.
always say all our kids know each other. You know,
Oh my God.
I mean, we must have 50, 60 children between us. You know, and grandkids. You know, so we're a big family, and we like to keep it in the family if we can.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy for Ali to do his own thing if that's what he wants to do, you know.
Yeah.
But we're UB40. We never stopped being UB40. We just
No.
carried on without him, you know. And
But is it hard? It must hit you really hard because it's you and Earl and Ali who started the band.
well, you
So
know, it
do you still
wasn't.
speak to him? Do you still talk to him? And
Well, no, he left 15 years ago and has never spoken to anybody since. You know, he doesn't even see his family. You know, he's gone and lived somewhere else and gone and got himself a new family. And you know,
yeah.
he does his thing. But we think it's not right for him to advertise himself as UB40. We think that's misleading people. And it wasn't that difficult because he was quite hard to work with. You know, he had a drink problem, and you know, it was quite hard to do live shows. He'd forget the words and fall over on stage, and you know, it was.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we knew that it was the band really that was making these live shows. You know,
Yeah,
it's the
yeah.
band that are good at playing live. You know, we'd always had Earl used to do tunes, Norman does songs, Astro used to do songs, you know. So it wasn't just down to Ali that we were doing when we do live shows. There were all kinds of different people. Robin as well, he would do songs, you know. So there was a big sort of change for the, you know, that's how we always were, you know. We had different people singing. It's just that Ali sang on the hits.
The hits, yeah, that's right.
I mean, that, you know, from Red Red Wine and things like that, you know. So
yeah,
I mean, it wasn't that hard because he was quite difficult to work with. So it was actually a relief when he left. You know, it was kind of thank God for that. You know, it was, and we've been happy ever since. So we're kind of happy to carry on what we're doing. You know.
Yeah, and I've got to say that on my YouTube channel, because I do sort of like gig videos, so sometimes I upload it, and I've got to say that the UB40 videos that I've uploaded on my channel, those are the ones that actually gain the most comments and reactions from people. And you know, it's sort of like different. Some will say that it's not the same without Ali, and some will say they are just really good even without because it's like you said, it's the band. And
it's a band, yeah,
it's the band. And Matt Doyle, I think is absolutely amazing. So he's Norman's nephew.
Norman's nephew, yeah.
Whoa.
A lot of talent in Birmingham, you know. He's brilliant. Whoa. And we love working, you know, we love it that he's the front man for us now. He's really good. You know, we were in America recently, and we did Hollywood Bowl, that, you know, the iconic venue in LA, Hollywood Bowl, sold out 22,000 people, and he really came out of his shell, really, you know, and really projected himself, and it was a really, you know, he came of age when he did that, you know, that big show in America. And, you know, ever since then, he's just got better and better and better as we've gone along. You know, we love having him. He's a great singer. and really lovely to listen to. I love his voice, and he sings.
Yeah,
He sings
I
easily.
do.
You know, it doesn't feel like he's straining or he's got a really lovely natural voice. So we love working
Yeah.
with him. Right.
And would you say that he actually looks a bit like Ali, a
Does,
younger
yeah,
Ali?
he does. How that we don't know how that happened, but he does. He looks a bit like Ali when he was young. He's
Yeah,
only he's only 30, so he's half
yeah,
our age. He's only a young guy
yeah.
relatively, but yeah, he
Because
does look a bit like Ali.
yeah, because when I saw you in Manchester, I was like, "Oh my God, it's Ali Campbell who stayed young, but the rest of the band seemed to be so like,
Yeah, we're all old. Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah. You don't have to keep reminding us. He reminds us every day. We're old fogies, and he's just young and full of,
like,
yeah,
well,
full of
sort of
vigor.
like okay, we'll not like leave UB40 for a while because another thing that I found out on your Discogs entry is there's I don't know if it's a band or just a one-off thing called BBC, which is you yourself, James Brown, and so what's his name? Dennis Bovell and
Oh
Steve
yeah,
Kobe,
yeah.
and you released a single called Quality Weed. I actually
Oh, the
had to
weed.
listen.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a friend of mine called Steve Cobby, who used to be one part of a dance production team called Fila Brasilia, and they did a lot of like dance tunes in the 90s. And we ended up meeting on a holiday in Croatia, beautiful country, and yeah, we just became friends on this holiday. And after that, he said he got a vocal from Dennis Bovell. I know Dennis Bovell. We've known him for years. He's a great guy, Dennis. He's Mr. British Reggae, he's the
Okay,
father
okay.
of British Reggae. And he had bands called Matumbi and Linton Kwesi Johnson, and he was producing all these brilliant artists. And yeah,
Yeah.
he did a vocal for Quality Weed, and yeah, I've gone, yeah, I'll Steve Cobby said, "Will you do the drums on it?" I've gone, "Yeah, no problem." And yeah, I was quite happy with the way that came out. Actually, kind of unusual, you
It
know.
is unusual. It's unusual because I had to listen to it. It was all like, oh God. So I wonder what happened to them. So what happened
Yeah,
to
but I mean,
BBC? It's like,
it's purely an underground thing, It wasn't like, I mean,
maybe had too much quality weed or something.
well, exactly. Yeah, I think that no way the BBC would ever go into broadcast quality weed. That was
Yeah.
never going to happen. But I enjoyed getting involved, and I think it was a good tune the way it came out.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Oh yeah. 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 Well, on the UB40 official website, it actually says that you're a film buff
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
and you regularly do movie reviews or something.
Uh-huh,
Where do
yeah.
you write? Where do you write your reviews, or where do you sort of like?
I do
Where can
film.
we find it?
I do clips. You can find them. We've got an app. There's a UB40 app that you can get that accesses you all this other material, and there's lots of
Oh,
clips of me doing a film. Just one of the little aspects of it is doing film reviews, because I am a film buff, I always have been, and I mean I quite like sort of more culty kind of films, I'm just if you're in the Philippines, I loved The Raid, which was made in the Philippines. A
oh,
film called The Raid. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Uh,
right. Yeah,
the
yeah.
Raid, yeah, it's like an action movie, like a martial arts film, but it was made in
Oh,
the Philippines, and it's really really good. And that, yeah, so I like those kind of
yeah,
action films and cult films. I'm a big David
yeah.
Lynch fan. I love David Lynch movies, and so yeah,
Yeah, I
before
also
before
I also found out that you like Japanese and Korean films as well. Is
yeah,
it so
yeah,
like is
absolutely,
it
yeah,
like
yeah.
Japanese horror films or Korean
Yeah,
horror films?
any type, but very often horror films. I mean, like when it says Korean, I was a big fan of Old Boy when it came out. Park
Oh yeah,
Chan,
I love all yeah. I love Old
Brilliant,
Boy. Yeah,
amazing
yeah,
film, and you know,
yeah.
I've kept my eye on that. You know, I like Boon Jung Ho, is it, who did who won an Oscar for Parasite.
Parasite.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I loved his movies. I was a big fan of his before he even made that film.
Okay.
Way back, you know, with his early movies like
Yeah.
Snowpiercer and uh, what was the Host? Is another one of his movies. But yeah, I love. You know, I'm kind of sick of the formula of American films, and I prefer non-American. You know,
Well, what
movies.
about Korean dramas? Do you also watch like Korean drama series, or you're basically into
Yeah, well,
the
I
horror
watched.
ones?
I did watch Squid Game. I really enjoyed Squid Game.
Oh, right.
I thought that was great. You know, you didn't know what was going to happen next with that. And yeah, you know, and I loved um, what's the one the zombie movie?
Train to
Um,
Busan,
Train to
the Train to
Busan. Yeah, that
Busan. Yeah, that was like that was good.
yeah, I love that. And
Well,
yeah, but you know, the wonderful thing about the internet is that you can find these movies. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's
Well, if you've got Netflix, on Netflix, there's actually a very good Filipino film that's on there at the moment.
what's it
It's
called?
sort of like a horror. I can't remember the name of it now. So like Small Circles or something like that. I think it's called, but
Okay,
it's a Filipino movie. So if you just like type in Filipino movies and watch that one, I think that's actually it's brilliant. It's a brilliant film.
I'll have a
So
look at that.
yeah, and also talking about the Philippines, did you ever like perform? Did you ever do a gig in the Philippines?
Yeah, we many years ago we did Manila, um,
Oh my
and
god!
played and did quite a big show there, many
Wow.
years ago. I think it was way back in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah,
You know, but we haven't been since, and we keep talking about going and playing the Far East. You know, from
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and
That must
yeah,
be that must be a time when I was already living in the Middle East because I remember you being very big at the time. But I think I left the Philippines in 1989, so it must be
yeah,
so like during the Can't Help Falling in Love era that
yeah,
maybe
you
that's
may
when
well
you
be
went.
right. Yeah, which is
Yeah,
late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
mean, we did. You know, we did Manila. Uh, we did. Oh God, where else? We did Singapore,
S- Yeah,
Hong
yeah.
Kong. We did all those. We did a tour of those kind of
What
places.
do you remember? What do you remember the most about Manila?
But
Food,
it was a bit
maybe?
crazy. You know, it was a bit. It was compared to England, for instance, which is very controlled, and it was kind of bit, there was a lot of seemed like anarchy around, you know. But I love that, you know. I
Yeah, yeah.
really enjoyed that, you know. It was yeah, I loved it. I would love to play there again, and
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, you can go back because I'm
yeah,
sure the
yeah.
Filipino fans would love to see UB40 again. And
Yeah, we definitely want to play there again. I think next time we do Australia, we may stop off on the way and
yeah,
do some
to do
shows.
Manila as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Also on the official UB40 website, it says that you're addicted to social media. I
That's
mean,
not
is it
necessarily true.
face? Is it
Not
Facebook?
really
Or...
addicted. No, I mean I do. You know, I do like to. You know, I'm on Facebook like all old people are on Facebook, and yeah, and I do like to get involved in sort of political discussions. I'm on a lot of different political pages. You know,
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah,
I'm socialist. I've always been a
yeah, yeah,
socialist. You know, so but that's what that's what I'm interested in. You know, movies, politics, and music.
yeah.
It keeps me occupied. You know, and
So it's
yeah,
all
I
about
love
sort of
getting
like
involved in discussions on
yeah,
Facebook. You know, which is a lot of fun. You know, can
yeah.
get
So it's
abused.
more sort of like political things. It's not about posting your dinner or maybe what you're
No, I
wearing.
would never do any of that. Don't do any pictures of kittens or don't don't post myself. You know, it's all about I never talk about anything personal, really. You know, it's all about politics and
Yeah, yeah.
or movies. You know.
Yeah, but I found out on online on Google that one of your children, your daughter, I believe, is like got a cosmetics so like uh
Yeah, yeah,
factor, no, what's it called, cosmetics product in Brunei, and
yeah,
she's like
yes,
the
yeah.
youngest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. She's not the young.
that,
She's actually the second oldest. I've got four daughters,
yeah,
um, and she's the second oldest. And she runs her own ethical um, cosmetics
yeah, yeah,
company, and has done for probably 15 years now, maybe nearly 20 years now.
yeah,
She's very successful. She's the entrepreneur in the family, and yeah, she's actually visiting today because she
oh
lives in
wow,
Brighton. She
yeah,
lives down
yeah.
south, but she's visiting me today, which is it's great to see her.
Well,
Yeah.
any of your kids are like following you and becoming a drummer or maybe a musician?
No, none of them seem to be that interested in music. Um, my youngest my youngest daughter, she's 25, 26 now, and she's just had a baby. They live with us, and
All
it's
right,
it's
good.
great having a little. Well, he's 2 years old now, and great having him in the house. Really enjoying it. My grandson, he's a beautiful little boy, and
Yeah,
so I'm very grateful to her for giving us this gorgeous little grandson who's
yeah.
beautiful.
So when you're not touring and when you're not playing the drums, he actually keeps you busy. So like
I'm
being
I'm
with your grandson.
I'm, I'm always at home. If I'm not touring, then I'm home 24/7. I don't go anywhere. I just like being with my family. And, it's a big family. I've got, like I said, four daughters. They've all got partners, got three grandkids. And, yeah, it's a busy time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, 45 years in the music industry. You said earlier that you're actually quite shy, and as much as possible after the gig or after the set, you just want to go back to your quietly slip so like to the
Yeah.
tour bus and go. But there must be some sort of like weird things that the fans have asked you or anything. So, because I mean, I know it's being in the band and being famous and everything. It's good, being famous, but
Mm.
there must be like a downside to it, that maybe people wanting to have more of you or something. So, what was like the weirdest request that you got from a fan? Or
Yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, like we said already, I'm one member of quite a big band,
a big band?
so
Yeah,
not everybody would know who I was. Or like I say, I'll go to the local supermarket and drop the kids at school or whatever, and you got to just be a normal person, if you want your kids to have a normal life, and they got to go to school, and you got to go about your daily life. You got to buy your food and get around. And no, I don't really get any problems with that. I like to stay anonymous and not be hassled by anything. So I've got the
but
best of all worlds.
you must get recognized by people though when you go out.
Yeah, but generally people don't. They're not in your face. I mean, it does happen. Occasionally. I remember when my kids were young, we'd be walking around somewhere and somebody would stop me and say hello, and, we'd have a little chat or whatever. And then afterwards, the kids would go, who was that, Dad? And I'd go, I haven't got a clue. No idea who that was. But they just want to sit, have a chat with you because they feel like they know you. But
Yeah, that's true. I know it's nearly so like it's 3:15, and I've still got my regular questions I always ask the drummers. But there's one thing that I saw online as well, that it says that you're a big fan of Karen Carpenter, and
yeah,
yeah. Well,
yeah,
obviously she was a drummer as well. She was like a really
she's
brilliant
really good. Yeah,
drummer
she's great. I mean,
with
what can I say? She was just unique. Had a unique, beautiful, natural voice, and she sang naturally. I like that style of singing where there's not too much embellishment, or they're not going up and down the scales the way
Yeah, Mariah Carey.
singers do. And I like that. Like I love my favourite male singer is John Holt. John Holt's one of the most beautiful singers in the world. And I think really good singers, they make the world a better place. They uplift you when you hear somebody singing like who's with a beautiful voice. And they do say, there are some singers that can tear you apart, and make you cry, like Billie Holiday can make you cry. But the really great singers are the ones that put you back together again. They inspire you and make you feel that the world's a better place, because they exist in it. And I think that to me is just those kind of singers are very, very special. Karen Carpenter was one of them. Like I say, John Holt was another one. Nat King Cole, another, singer where you just have a beautiful natural voice.
Yeah.
And considering I'm a drummer, I quite like singers. Even though they get in the way of the drums sometimes. I do love to listen to the singer. But.
Wait, I'm gonna ask you this sort regular questions that I ask the drummer. Being a reggae drummer, do you twirl when you play the drums? Is that part of the sport?
I've been known to. I think I did learn how to twirl sticks before I could play the drums. Of course, every drummer learns to twirl the sticks first, before they do anything else. So yeah, I have been known to do that. Not so much these days. I'm too old for all that. But yeah, it's I've been known to do that. Yeah, it's what all drummers do, surely.
That's brilliant, because I just think it is part of a show. So if you're the drummer, you've got to do a bit of a show yourself. You don't just be in the background and play drums. You've got to make yourself be seen by the audience as well. And I think twirling is just amazing.
Yeah, it's like I said, drummers learn to twirl before they can play drums. That's what you hold stick in your hand, and automatically you want to twirl it. And it's perfectly designed for twirling. It's the perfect twirling stick, isn't it? Drumstick. But yeah. But I'm not theatrical in any way, really. I don't do that with the drums turning upside down or, the audience. I don't do any of that, really. With reggae, it's about keeping a straight line. You have to keep that straight line all the time.
Yeah.
And that's what I concentrate on doing, rather than too much theatrics.
Well, do you throw it up in the air and catch it?
No. I'm not very that well coordinated, really, to do that.
So apart from Karen Carpenter, do you have any other drumming heroes?
Yeah, a lot of them. Yeah, obviously, I'm in the privileged position of I meet my heroes. That I've worked with some of the biggest heroes in reggae music. And I got to know Sly Dunbar, for instance, of Sly and Robbie fame, and big influence. And we played together many, many times. On we toured together, and so obviously Sly Dunbar was a big influence. Starley Scott from the Roots Radix band, I suppose, was a massive influence. Carlton Barrett, who played for Bob Marley, was he invented the genre reggae. He invented reggae. He invented the one drop, which is a standard reggae beat, And I've actually played with and got to know my heroes, which is a beautiful thing, I've met John Holt. As much as I love him as a singer, I've met John Holt and played with him, and Aston Family Man Barrett, who's the bass player with Bob Marley. I've played with him, it's what can I say, a privilege, so I'm doubly lucky, you know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get to do that, you
Do
know.
you do you ask them for photographs?
Not really. Uh, uh, Not really. No, I, I, I'm not enough. To me, autographs just seem pointless. You know, I can't see the point really. You know, sometimes you get given like a big stack of records and say, "Can you sign them for
Like
whatever?"
me.
They're like, going, one, another one, another one, another one. Feel like I'm,
Pardon me.
yeah, sorry. I feel like I'm wasting time by doing it. Doing something else is better, but I don't mind doing it. You know, if somebody asks me for an autograph, of course you can have an autograph, but it's not something I would normally do, really.
So what about like meeting John Holt? So have you got photos of all these heroes that you met?
Yeah,
So
well, I mean,
so
just
like
meeting them is the wonderful thing. You know, we've worked with, like I say, you know, we've had some of the greatest reggae musicians from Jamaica working with us on our music. You know,
yeah,
and you know, it's a massive, massive privilege to have these people, you know, work and recognise what you've done. You know,
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
beautiful thing. We have a really good relationship with a lot of Jamaican artists, and always have had, and always will do.
Yeah. Well, in 45 years of you playing the drums, have you ever had any what I call disasters or drumming accident? Like maybe falling off your falling off your drum stool or
Not
something?
really, no, not really. But we have had obviously things like the power going, you know, the power outage where everything just goes, you know, and
Yeah.
so we've had to get off stage, wait for them to fix it, and then get back on stage again. But you know, I mean, the show must go on, you know, and we make sure that we do the show. You know, sometimes the circumstances aren't ideal, but you just deal with it. And you know, we're kind of, I think we're well known for moving in and making sure the show gets done. You know, it's not just about the band; it's about the technicians as well, the out front mixer, the lighting guys, the roadies. Don't call them roadies anymore; call them technicians. But
Yeah, yeah.
you know, we've got such a good uh, tight outfit, you know, that we can get a gig done. You know, we can just go in where it's badly organised and organise it and make the show happen. You know, which is something we've been doing for many, many, many years. And
Yeah.
I think whatever problems can be thrown at us, we can deal with
You can
uh,
deal with it. Yeah, yeah.
quite
Well,
easily.
there's one other question I wanted to ask you is because you said that you never had any drumming lessons and you just
Mm-hmm.
saw like naturally, when you're just tapping. So you've got that. Do you think being a drummer, it's actually you've got to have it? You're sort of like born to be sort of like a drummer, or can you actually just sort of like learn it
Yeah,
and
I think anyone can learn an instrument. You know, anybody can pick up an instrument if they put time into it. Then
yeah, yeah,
they'll pick it up. You know, and I think that's a great thing. You know, but I mean, when I think my advantage now after be doing so many shows, so many thousands of shows over the 45 years, you know, that gives you experience because so you can rehearse all you like, but in the end, you've got to get up on stage and perform and see how the audience responds to what you do, you know. And
yeah, yeah,
kind of over the years, you know, we've learned how to get the best out of the audience and you know to get the best out of the band. And you know, I mean, it's a lot of bands don't last much longer than a couple of years, and then they're gone, so they don't get the opportunity to get all that live experience and you know and to because you know it's not like a musician isn't like a sportsman where you peak when you're young. You get better and better and better as you get older. You know, the more you do it,
yeah,
the better you get. You know, and
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that puts us in a good place now. You know, that we feel very confident when we get on stage, and yeah, I think anybody can do it, but they've got to put the. I mean, I don't really I don't practice very much. I have a little setup at home, but I rarely sit on it. It's only when I get in with the band, because it's an ensemble thing. You're working with other musicians, all working together to produce a show, and it's very empowering to be part of that. So everybody involved is focused on doing this one thing, which is doing the show, and I love being part of that, and just one cog in a big machine, which is, and I like being part of that, and it's, like I say, very empowering to be part of that.
Yeah. So, final question is, what would be your advice to aspiring drummers?
Despite the fact that I've just said that I don't practice, I think, is the thing. In the end, you've got to practice, to learn the instrument, and that you can only do that by putting the hours in, and concentrating, and like I say, practice is the only thing I can think of, The only advice I can give is put the hours in.
Yeah, and you have done. I mean, 45 years you've been doing it.
Yeah, I think we've come to a point now where we know what we're doing, and how to do it, and that's what we love doing it. It's I come off stage every night feeling high, because of the buzz of doing a gig. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, well, I'm really glad that you're still doing it. I wish you saw like many, many more years of like performing on stage as UB40. And Aidan actually just wanted to say it's a fantastic interview, all positive vibes, which, yes, it's true. It's all positive vibes from you. So, so your next gig will be in December, I believe, or November?
Yeah, we're doing the Ahoy in Rotterdam, a very famous arena in Rotterdam. And we hold the record for the most sellout shows at that particular venue. So we're kind of proud that we're doing another, and December the 1st, I think, is when we do that show. And then we'll probably take a little bit of time off and start again in January.
And is there a new album? Is there a new album coming out, maybe? Or
yes, I forgot to mention that. We've 45 years. It's called UB45, of course, the album, which is going to be out very early next year. And yeah, I'm very proud of it. It's good. We're redoing some of the old tunes like Red Red Wine and Can't Help Falling in Love with our new singer. And we also have half of the album will be brand new material that we've written since our new singer's been with us, Matt Doyle. Yeah. So it's a combination, and I'm kind of proud. I'm very proud. We're just finishing it now, and it'll be ready for release the early part of next year.
Yeah, and then you'll be touring that album as well.
I will be touring that album all over again.
Yeah, but you'll still be called UB40, but it's the album that will be called UB45.
UB45, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
amazing. That's so good. I mean, I'm so happy that you said yes to it, because when I saw on your Facebook, on your official website that you've got a social media addiction, I thought, I've got to find him. I've got to search Facebook. If he's on Facebook, then I will find him and I will ask him. And thankfully, I mean, luckily for me, you said yes to ask the drummer. And
it's a pleasure. How can I say no?
Well, thank you so much. I'm so grateful. And I really hope that I can go and see you again, see you in UB40 next year. And I look forward to the new album.
Maybe we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, please do. I'm just really grateful.
That is very welcome. I've enjoyed it.
Reggae band in the world.
You've asked some good questions, so I quite enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. So enjoy the rest of the weekend. It's not long until Monday, and enjoy being with your grandson and
I'm just about to go and find him now. He's just I'm hearing outside the door.
Okay. Thank you so much. See
Okay,
you
you're very
soon.
welcome.
All right. Take
I'll
care.
speak to you again.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Oh my God, that was so good. I do apologize for the technical problems again earlier, but we've made it. We've managed to sort of like complete the interview or the show. And he's just so amazing. Oh my God, 45 years of UB40. It's just he's such a legend. I mean, all the UB40 guys, such a legend. And if we get a chance to sort of like go and see them live, you've got to. I mean, I'm really pleased that I actually went to see them because, and I got to sort of like talk to him and got him on the show and everything. But anyways, yeah, thank you so much, James Brown. Wow. So next week, it's actually my birthday next week. So hopefully I'll have a really good drummer guest for you next week. We'll see. And as always, thank you. Oh, thank you so much for watching the show. And as always, love music, love life, love drummers. They're just amazing people. And hope to see you all again next week. So bye for now. Bye. Bye.